there, everybody. Welcome to another one of our technology videos here at Mid-Continent Public Library. I am Paige Libbert. I am a consumer technology specialist for Mid-Continent Public Library. And today I'm going to do a 10 tech tips on Google products. And this is maybe going to be a little bit different than some of our other 10 tech tips in that I am not going to give just tips on random technology things. I am in fact just going to talk about 10 Google products that I think are super duper awesome, and I wanted to point out to you guys and give you a little bit of information about what they do. So what you're going to need, you will need a computer or a mobile device. I believe every single one of the things that I'm going to talk about today does have a mobile app option. The apps do sometimes do a little bit more or maybe a little bit less than what the computer program does, so just keep that in mind. You will need an internet connection. You can use whatever browser you like to get to these resources. I will be using Chrome, but it doesn't matter. You can use whatever you prefer. And then for some of them, you will need a Google login. So just a Google account. There are some that you don't. So like if one of the ones I'll talk about is Google search, you absolutely do not need a Google account to use a standard Google search. But there are some options that are kind of helpful from within that if you do happen to have a Google account logged in. And then it's not on this little slide, but if you are on one of our public computers at one of our library branches, you will need your access pass, which is your library card number and your PIN, just to get logged in to use those computers. So on that note, I'm just going to go ahead and hop in. This is the regular old Google search page, which most of you are probably somewhat familiar with. I am already logged in on our test account, so I can kind of click around. So I'm going to click up here in this little apps, what I call the apps grid. And the first one I want to talk about in my 10 tech tips is Gmail. Many people are familiar with Gmail. It is Google's email client. So you can kind of personalize it. You can see we have our kind of cool mountain, beach, snow. I'm not even sure where this is background. I like it because I see snow, and snow is my favorite. So you can personalize a little bit. You can change up how the view is. So you can see we have everything else and unread up here. You can set it up so that you have different areas. So maybe it's just the regular stuff, social news, and then advertisements and things like that can go into different areas. You can create folders. We don't have very many, I don't believe, but we have some. So we can create folders or labels so that stuff can kind of show up in different areas. So you can do labels. You can have trash. You can start meetings from inside Gmail, actually. And you can very easily share calendar invites, meeting invites, Google Documents, and anything from Google Drive. And you can also add links into emails very easily. So that is one of the first one that I wanted to kind of talk about. For this one, you do have to have a Google account. But having that Google account opens up all of Gmail's awesomeness. And yeah, so that is Gmail. The next one I wanted to show you is Google Photos. We don't have too many photos in here, but we have a few. So you can see that you can choose a face, and it will actually start to fill in an album that is you. And so it'll be like, nope, that's this person. That is, in our case, Matilda. And it will put any of those photos with that face inside of that folder, which is kind of cool. I'm going to keep it off for now because we have a lot of different people in here. And then as you scroll through here, so they are arranged by date. So you can see that we've got Tuesday, March 7th. If we scroll down some more, there's February. And these are just events that took place in some branches. But they apparently kept some of the photos in there. So you can kind of do that. You can share photos that way. You can do albums. So if I wanted to come in here, you can see that we have a couple of albums. Google Photos does come up with the kind of generic albums that they always create. And then there's the ones that I have down here that I've created for classes. So we've got the Awesome Photos album. And you can do what you will with these. If you wanted to add or remove photos, you can very easily just check mark them, and then things that you can do with them pop up on the top. So you can add them elsewhere, you can share them, you can order a print, and then you can open that three dots menu to give you even more options. You can move it to the trash, remove it from the album, and a bunch of other things. So just kind of wanted to show you that. One of the things I really do like with Google Photos that is not showing up right here is over here in the settings, I believe. May not show up because I am in the browser. So when you are using the app, in the settings, you can actually set up backup and sync, which is incredibly helpful, especially if you are notorious for forgetting where photos are or needing photos from your phone on your computer. You can set up backup and sync using the Google Photos app, and that will literally, every time you take photos and kind of pop into the app, it will back up all your photos and sync them into Google Photos, the website. And so you have access to these photos anytime, anywhere, as long as you have an internet connection. And then from there, you can actually edit. So if I wanted to go in here, I have a little edit option, so I can edit the photos, and then I can download them to my computer, and then I can put them wherever I want from that point on. So that is kind of one of the big things I wanted to point out with Google Photos, is that option for backup and sync, because it is and has been a lifesaver for me. So that is my major Google Photos tech tip for the day. So tech tip number 3 is going to be Google Maps. A lot of people are familiar with Google Maps because it has kind of become that, I don't know, almost trademark for any kind of mapping service on your phone, or even that you use on your computer. Everybody's just, use Maps, Google Maps, something like that. It's pretty standard. You can go wherever you want. So I guess we recently did a search for Yellowstone, so we'll just do that again. So I can do a quick search for Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. It will give me, it'll just kind of take me straight there. It'll show me some images. It will give me information about the place, so I can actually kind of look at some photos. I can send it to my phone if I have a phone hooked up to this. I can look at nearby things. I can also just do directions, and then it will give me a starting point. So I would like to start from here. So this is the headquarters building. Oh, and it changed for whatever reason. We are not in Roseville, Kansas. Good Lord. We are in Independence. I don't know why that changed. Okay. There we go. So it will show you all the things that we can do to get there. So this is the main route. We go up through Lincoln, through across Nebraska on I-80, and then at about here we get on 287 and start going kind of northwest. I can actually explain this right now. The road is closed on I-80 around the border of Wyoming because they just got a ton of snow. And that whole area is fairly flat and very windy, and so it gets to be whiteout conditions right there. So those those interstates are flat out closed for a while they get the snow cleared up. But you can see that we can see our path through there. If we wanted to kind of find alternate routes, we can move this path down here. So maybe instead of going through Cheyenne and Laramie, we want to go up through Casper. So we can actually move our dots around, and then voila, we have open roads. We don't have to worry about snow. So we can pop up here and do that instead. And we have our new route. Takes about the same amount of time. But you can move your routes around, which is kind of cool. Over here on the left side of the page, you can see that we can explore things about Yellowstone. If I click on more, I get an option to scroll down, and it will give me all kinds of information about it. So if I want to find hotels near Yellowstone, I can just click on that. It will actually zoom me into the Yellowstone area and then show me a bunch of kind of average prices and hotels nearby. So it's really cool, very handy. It is definitely on your phone. So if you need directions to get around even just your hometown, if you were like me, the plaza is impossible. So having Google Maps on my phone has been a lifesaver to get me out of all those one-way streets and random construction. So just wanted to bring up Google Maps because I think it is super cool and really, really handy. So tech tip number 4, I am going to go into Google Drive this time. So Google Drive is a lot of things. And sometimes when people talk about Google Drive, they're just talking about creating documents or sharing documents. But in reality, Google Drive is actually Google's cloud storage service. So you can create documents and sort of things with it, but you can also store documents in here. So you can see I have a random photo of fireworks stored in here. We have example documents, we have photos, we have folders. If you scroll down, if I keep scrolling down here, we have a form, a presentation, PDFs. You can store pretty much almost any common file type that exists, which is really cool. And over here you can see on our left-hand side there is a storage. You can see that we're using 2.2 gigabytes of 15 gigabytes used. So when you create a Google account, you are automatically allotted 15 gigabytes of cloud storage space, which is awesome. Your Google Photos, if you store them at Google's suggested rate, are not supposed to go into that 2.2 gigabytes of storage space. You actually get more space with Google Photos. If you choose to use the regular resolution for your photos, if you have like really high res camera or something like that, it will start to go against your your Google Docs allotment. So keep in mind of that. And your email can also go into that 15 gigabytes of space. So if you store an absolute ton of emails, it is possible that you could use up a little bit of extra space that way. But emails typically don't take up a lot of room. I wanted to bring you here into Google Drive because I use my Google Drive as kind of my own personal file explorer like you would use on your computer. I store almost everything in there because I'm working with a bunch of different moving parts and I like to have access to all of my stuff wherever I am. And I jump computers. I have my personal computer and I have my work computer. And so being able to kind of switch between that or even between devices, between computer and mobile, saves me a lot of effort. And I like to put all my stuff in folders, or a lot of my stuff in folders. So a lot of the folders on my personal computer deal with different parts of my life. So perhaps I have an entire folder for 1 year of volunteering for the organization I volunteer for, and every year gets a new folder because I have new documents. Or I have an entire folder for a graduate degree program. So one folder for that, but then within that folder, I have a bunch of different little folders full of all the documents for each individual class. And so you can organize things down like that, just kind of like you would using your computer's File Explorer option. So it's super handy. And it doesn't have to be a Google created document. It can be this photo of fireworks that is just saved somewhere. It's just a regular like JPEG image. It can be Word documents. It can be Apple Pages. It can be PDFs. It can be all kinds of different things. So keep that in mind that you're not stuck with whatever Google's products are. And what is really nice, you can share things across. And the things that you share across don't necessarily have to be a Google created project or document either. So I could actually see I've had a PDF shared with me. And so you can go in here and find anything that's been shared with you. So I did want to show you that. And while I'm in Drive, I'm going to go with my next two tech tips, Docs and Sheets. So I'm going to come up here and click on New. And we have two options. We've got Docs, which I'm going to click on first. So Google Docs is accessible from that apps menu, and it's also accessible just by searching docs.google.com. It is basically kind of like Microsoft Word Lite, but it is free and available through Google. You can create all kinds of different just standard word processing documents using this. You can type in, you can edit your text, you can bold, you can make it green, you can do whatever you want. It's very handy. It doesn't have all of the same features that Microsoft Word does, but it has a lot of them. And you can add on a couple of tools here and there to get it more and more like it, or to be more personalized to how you like your word processing option to be. When you create documents in here, they automatically save into your Google Drive. You can also come up here into the folder and decide if you want it to go into specific folders. You can do that as well. And then from here, you can also save your Google Docs as PDFs or Microsoft Word, OpenOffice, anything like that. So really, really handy. And then I'm going to come back. I'm back on Google Drive. I just left the tab open. I'm going to go back to New again, and this time I'm going to go to tech tip number 6, which is Sheets. This is Google Sheets. You can access it the same way. You can just do the new. You can also go to the that apps grid on the Google homepage. There's a Google Sheets option. You can also just do sheets at google.com or .google.com. And for those of you familiar with Excel, this probably looks like a very familiar little background. Sheets is what I've been calling Excel Lite. It does not have all of the functionality, kind of like Docs, but it has a lot of them. You can still do all kinds of formulas. They are formatted almost the same way. Um, you still have to use the equals and the parentheses and everything to get everywhere. But it is incredibly handy. The navigation still works the same way. You can get around with tab and your arrow keys and shift. It's very awesome. And I use it for a lot of things. So I just wanted to bring that one up as well. All right, we're on to tech tip number 7. So I'm going to come back to my apps grid. And for this one, I have to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to go to Google News. So this one is one that is a little bit less familiar to a lot of people. But it has been my best friend, especially during all of the pandemic and everything, because I'll just come in here in the morning with my morning drink and kind of settle into work by seeing what something crazy happened overnight. Usually something happened. I think this time it snowed in Wyoming and Colorado. But so you can scroll through here. They give you the top headlines so you can kind of get an idea of what the heck happened yesterday or the day before. As you keep going in, and if you're logged into your account, as you keep going in, it starts to kind of pay attention to what sort of news articles you read and then starts to push them out to you. I don't use Matilda very often, so it's kind of a mix of stuff. Usually hers is more tech-based. And then you get your U.S. news, and as you scroll down more, there it goes. You'll get world news and then local news. So we have actually set our location, so you will get Kansas City news, or at least Kansas City Independence. It's kind of handy if you want to know what's going on in your area. And then it goes on down into some specific stuff, so business, technology, entertainment, sports, science, and health. So you get all of those, kind of the top stories for those areas every day. And they do have some fact check ones, which is kind of nice. So if you're worried about, if you've read an article recently that seemed like, maybe not, you can always come over here to check the fact check and see if in fact that is a thing that really did happen. So that's Google News. All right, I'm going to go back to the standard Google search. This has been around for almost 30 years, over 30 years. I don't know, about then. I know that I am older than Google, so it's at least a little older than me, or a little younger than me, and I'm in my 30s. So, so this is standard Google search, but I wanted to bring everybody back here because one of my tech tips, and this is more of an actual tip, is that you don't have to just search Google with, what is. You can do those searches. They're great, awesome. So what is peanut butter will bring me what I'm looking for. But if you're like me and you don't know what words mean sometimes, or along those lines, you can always do things like this. So if you do define, and I always do a colon space and the word, it will bring up Google's little dictionary, which is run from Oxford Languages and that sort of stuff. It will bring up the definition for you right there. So I can do whatever I want. Maybe I want to do mask. And so you can do that. It'll bring up kind of curious entries. It'll always bring up or if there isn't a Wikipedia article option, it'll bring that up for you as well. But it's a really nice, handy thing. Another one is weather. So if you scroll down, if you type in an area, you can get the local weather. Just kind of a nice, fun thing. So if you are local and want to figure that out, it'll do it for anywhere. And you can also do time. So if you'd like to know the specific time in a specific city, so I just said London because it just popped into my head. So it is currently 6:22 p.m. on September 8th in London right now. And then another one that I wanted to bring up is kind of searches that might be ambiguous. So I could always search for Mustang, but I could be meaning the car or the horse. And so I can kind of modify that search a little bit to say not horse. I want the car. And so it's actually going to bring up, it shouldn't bring up the horse. Sometimes it does. But it should bring up the Ford Mustang, the car. So you can use that. They're called Boolean operators or Boolean search terms. So you can use and, or, and not. And Google should know what you are talking about. Sometimes they do silly stuff like that. But that is an option always that you can use to help modify your search if you know that you're going to be searching for something maybe ambiguous, or you're going to have a term that's going to come up with lots and lots of hits. You can like say not something, or maybe you want nursing and I don't know, COVID-19. And you can get hits that are going to be related to that instead of just kind of some generic stuff. So just a fun little thing to know how to do. I'm going to turn off my Google Assistant. Come back here. All right, we're on to tech tip number 9. And I have to scroll for this one. I'm going to go to Google Finance. So this is pretty straightforward. Not a lot here to talk about, but if you are into stocks, this is an awesome place to be. You can track your stocks like crazy. You can actually put in and set up ones that you want to watch. You can check local markets. You can check world markets. It is super handy. So you can add and remove things. We're currently watching Adobe and Cerner. We've searched for General Mills. You can do that sort of thing and kind of see what's going on if you need to track any stocks. And my very last one, my tech tip number 10 for my Google products is Google Translate. And I have great fun with Google Translate, more so the app than the website. But it is a lot of fun, especially so my sister likes to text me in French, and because I took French in high school and college, but that's been some years and I don't remember a lot of things. So I will sometimes just hop in here and translate whatever she has sent me so I know what is going on, because she is at least in French classes right now. I am not. And so it saves me some effort. So I can type in whatever I want. So I'm going to type in, so it's detecting that it's English. It will do its best to detect whatever language you type in. So if I try to type something in French, I'm not going to because I'm terrible. You can, but if I wanted to translate this into a different language, so right now it's going detected English to English, but I could click this little caret menu and I can pick any language I really feel like. So I can, if I wanted to wish somebody to have a great day in Japanese, it will bring it up, and it actually brings up the kanji, or I guess that's katakana, I think. I don't know. It's not the kanji. But it also brings up the kind of actual like translation of how it would be spoken. And then if you want to hear it, you can click listen, and it will bring up, it will actually play it for you so you can hear it out loud. If I wanted to see it in Icelandic, that's what it looks like in Icelandic. So very cool. You can copy stuff in, so if you want to copy it and paste it somewhere, you can suggest edits. So if you happen to know a language very well and Google is getting it wrong, you can suggest an edit, and you can also share. With the website, I did want to show that you can translate full documents. So if you have a Word doc, a PDF, an open PDF, something along those lines, you can throw it in here and it will do its best to translate for you, which I think is really cool. And then if you are using the mobile app, my big tech tip is if you are using the mobile app, you can translate images in either saved images or in real time. So if you are in a country where you do not speak the predominant language and you see signs that you don't know what they say, you can hold up your phone with that app open and either take a picture of it using the app or save a picture of it, and Google will translate it for you so you know what the sign says. And you can also do a little bit of live translation. They can do some conversational translation. But not with as many languages. So you can see, like, if I'm here in the website, it's like 100 plus, I think. I feel like I've counted once, but it is 100 plus. When you're in the app doing live translation, they only have 46 languages to choose from. But that is still a ton of languages, especially since I know one. So I think that is really cool. And I did want to point out Translate, especially for anybody who's planning to travel when travel becomes a thing again. So that has been 10 tech tips. So the quick review for the day, we talked about Gmail, Google Photos, Google Maps, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google News, Google Search, Google Finance, and Google Translate. And so these are 10 of my favorite Google products that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about today, just so you guys get an idea of what is out there. Google makes tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of things. So these 10 are like the tip of the iceberg. They have all kinds of other things that are incredibly useful. And I hope you guys take some time to go explore and play with these and find your favorite 10. And I hope they're super helpful. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me for yet another one of these. If you would like to see more videos like this, join us every Wednesday and Friday at 1 o'clock for a fresh video premiere. Our Friday videos are a little bit shorter. These are definitely our longer videos. And then if you miss a video or you want to watch some of the old ones or anything like that, check us out on YouTube. We have the MCPL has a YouTube channel, and then we actually have our own playlists, actually several playlists, but the main one is the MCPL Consumer Tech Resources playlist. All of our videos are there, and you can check